Hello everyone, this is the Familiar DAVENER number 39, and I'd like to dedicate all the words of Torah I'm about to say to the memory of my dear cousin Bועז רוז'יצקי, Boaz ben Avram Moshe, who was taken from us about 30 days ago. In honor of his shloshim, I'd like to speak about another aspect of him that I miss greatly, and that is his love for tiyulim, and his love for everything around Israel, and for going out and seeing the wonders of nature. And I'd like to put it into context of davening, as I always do. Every single morning, as we get closer to saying Shema and accepting upon ourselves the beautiful, not to mention the onus sometimes, of being a Jew, we say two blessings. One blessing starts with Yotzer Or Uvarei Choshech, God created the heavens, the earth, and everything, and we say the words Ma Rabu Ma'asecha Hashem Kulam B'Chochma Asita. Wow, God, what a world you created, in the first bracha. But then in the second bracha, we come and say that there's a special love to the Jewish people, and in the midst of it, we make a big deal about the Torah. V'tein b'libeinu bina lahavin, lahaskil, lishmoa, lilmod, ulelamed, to understand the Torah, to learn it, to teach it, to fulfill it constantly. And indeed, I think this tension is something we all deal with. On the one hand, the words of the Rambam are very, very clear, that a person has to go ahead and dedicate part of his day to learning Torah, both in the morning and the night, and even says at night, don't waste your time eating and drinking and sleeping. Learning Torah at night is the best thing to do. But on the other hand, it's the same Rambam that says, how do you get to loving God and to having awe of God? Not by sitting in a beis medrash, not by learning Torah, but rather going out to nature and seeing the big world. And when you see the big world, with all the laws of physics and chemistry and biology coming together, you're going to come back with an awe and a love for God. I believe that we have to not only educate ourselves and our children and our grandchildren to learn Torah and fulfill the Torah, but also to educate them that above and beyond staying away from Averot and doing mitzvot, there's a middle path in the middle of things that are not obligatory, and yet we can make them into something of value. We have the power to actually take something that on the surface is mundane and actually make it into something with value. Because if we don't, the Rashar Hirsch says that we are going to unfortunately ruin it for the next generation. He says, and I'm paraphrasing his words, that ultimately, when a person thinks that all we have is mitzvot and averot and nothing in between, then unfortunately people think that being a religious Jew is like being a nun or being a Nazarite, someone that's totally detached from this world and has nothing to do with it. And ultimately, when that happens, he says that Torah is at fault and I want nothing to do with it. The Chafetz Chaim from the Lithuanian world said that the biggest problem with the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination and the laws of slander, is that it basically puts into you that you can't talk about anything. You can't talk about nothing, because everything happens to be a little slander. And if you think that way, says the Chafetz Chaim, unfortunately, you will come out with a terrible notion, and that is that it must be everything is forbidden, I want nothing to do with it. And he even says that's approximately what the famous snake did to Chava, trying to push her to the tree. To make a long story short, we have to, on the one hand, love the Torah, both learn it and fulfill it. Stay away from Averot and do mitzvot. But on the other hand, there's a middle path there. Rav Kook says that Omnam, the Chovat HaLevavot, thinks the whole world is just mitzvot and Averot, but the Ravid disagrees, and he says there's a middle road in between both. And I would like to suggest that the Ravid is only true if we put value to it. If there's anything that my dear cousin Bועז רוז'יצקי did, it was to put value not just to the words of Torah when he gave a daf yomi, but also to every tiyul he ever took, to every trip he ever went on. You can hear him talk about it, not just in terms of I had a good time, but rather talk about it as something of value, as something that has value in the big world of God. So indeed, every morning, as a Jew approaches saying Shema, he on the one hand dedicates himself to a life of Torah, staying away from Averot and obviously doing mitzvot. But on the other hand, the first bracha there says, Marabu Ma'asecha Hashem, to have an appreciation and to put value into the big world around us. And if we do both, I hope and pray that indeed it will not just be the right thing to do, but it will actually be a beautiful legacy of my dear cousin Bועז Rozhitzky continuing to be lived out in this world. Yehi Zichro Baruch.